All right, so one of my all-time favorite topics, of course, is fruit and how to find good quality fruit. How do you know whether or not something is high quality or low quality when you're just looking at the fruit, when you're in the store, when you're at the market, or even if you're out in the garden? How do you determine whether or not something is good? And this is probably one of the questions that I get most often. People send me emails and comments on videos where they ask, how do I know if a banana is ripe, or how do I know if a mango is any good, or that sort of thing. And of course I've gone over this before, but today I thought I'd go over it again. Just go through the different parameters of high quality fruit. Before we get into this video, I want to just quickly ask you to click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you're at all interested in fruit-based nutrition, health, fitness, happiness, these kind of topics, this is what we cover on this channel. So we have lots of videos on that, over 500 videos. And so be sure to look through the videos, be sure to subscribe, and stay tuned for content coming up over the days, weeks, months, and years to come. So let's get into it. Fruit. Well, we can talk about a lot of different factors when it comes to quality. There's how good is the soil where the tree is growing, how well maintained is the tree, is it getting enough water, is it getting enough sunshine, what kind of climate is it in? If you're growing mangoes in Northern Europe, I don't know if it's possible even, that's not an ideal climate for a mango. So even if you're able to get a mango out of it, it might not be the best mango. And so there's all these different factors, and then probably the most important factor in fruit quality when it comes to the fruit that you see in the store and at the market is when that fruit was picked. Because what happens is that because of international shipping and transportation and all these things, which is good, it means we have fruit, it means I have bananas right here right now in France in February. I have bananas in France because of import and export. So I'm happy about that. But what it does mean is that those bananas need to be picked before they're fully ripe. When we were in Costa Rica, we were living at this land where there was bananas growing. We could literally see that the bananas are ripening on the plant. You could grab a banana and eat it straight up. We grabbed the whole bunch, and then over the next couple of days it all ripened up, and then we were covered banana wise for a few days or even a week. And so that's the best, that's the ideal, tree ripened fruit, of course. But we have to find that compromise because we're not necessarily in the tropics, we're not necessarily where the fruit is growing. In that case, the fruit needs to be picked early and shipped. Now, we're only human. The people that farm and grow and pick these fruits, they're only human. So it's a very fine science and art to be able to pick the fruit at the right point, because if they pick it too early, it's poor quality, it's not going to taste any good, it might not ripen properly. But if you pick it too late, it'll ripen too fast and it'll be rotten or damaged by the way it reaches the customer. So they have to find that perfect point to pick it. But inevitably in the store there's always sometimes they pick it at such a perfect time, and this particular fruit on this particular tree was able to actually mature to a point where it is still high quality. It's ripe and it's ready there in the store halfway around the globe. Whereas other times it's just by the time it comes to Norway or France, it's just it won't ripen properly and it's just crap. Of course, specifically when it comes to bananas, which should be a staple if you're eating a fruit-based diet outside of the tropics, you can learn more about how to determine whether or not a banana is ripe and how to ripen them and that sort of thing in my book, The Little Banana Book. So be sure to check that out if you haven't done so. But the truth is that the principles that apply to the banana also more or less apply to most of the other fruits as well. And there are some very basic principles to look for. If you don't know anything about where it comes from, where it was grown, how early, when it came to the store, and that sort of thing, you can still determine quality by listening to your senses. And that is because you are a frugivore by nature, by biological adaptation. You are a frugivore species, which means that your sense of smell and your sense of vision and touch and ultimately taste is geared towards determining whether or not something is good. So let's say the soil is really crap at some farm growing some fruit. You know, when that fruit is ready to eat, that fruit isn't going to taste as good as the fruit coming from somewhere where there's good soil, because it has to do with mineral composition of the soil, etc. And your taste buds will not only taste the sweetness, which is the sugar generated by the sunlight, but it will also taste all the minerals. And this is part of what gives a fruit depth in terms of taste. It gives it a wide spectrum of nuances in the taste. So, you know, when you bite into a mango, a perfect mango, and you're just like, wow, like so many layers of taste. Well, that's all the different minerals, all the different proteins, all the different nutrients, and the way they're, you know, bound together in this one whole food. So the truth is, you don't need to know about the farm that much. You know, it helps because it's helping you stack the odds in your favor and trying to find good fruit. It helps knowing where the fruit comes from. It helps knowing that, oh, this farm grows good fruit, or this brand always has good bananas, or something like that. But most of all, you just want to rely on your senses, because there's a lot of randomness as well. It's all about the batch, you know, like one batch to the next. You might have a crappy batch of bananas, then you might have a great batch of bananas from the same brand, from the same farm. You know, go figure. It's just about random factors in the soil and in the growing conditions and the picking process and the transport and everything. So you got to rely on your senses. That's your number one weapon in finding good fruit. And it's very, very simple. And I've written about this before. I'm in the free ebooklet, How to Get Started on a Raw Food Diet, which is available on our website. I write about this idea, and it really comes down to just trusting your senses. So the first thing you do when you come into